Hello and welcome. This is Valerie again. Today I bring you another social issue topic, and this is on DUI, driving under the influence. So, this is a very serious topic because it's something that has caused a lot of families a lot of grief. So, what is DUI? It stands for driving under the influence, and it is a serious issue globally, including in Canada. So it involves operating a vehicle while impaired by alcohol or drugs or other substances, and it has devastating consequences for individuals, families, and society. So, this is very sensitive because a lot of people have lost their loved ones, the people who choose to drink and drive. And so, some people may say, why do they do that? So let's look at some of the causes of driving under the influence. So one of the causes has to do with substance use, and alcohol is one of the factors. Even small amounts of alcohol can impair judgment and motor skills. Drugs like cannabis, opioid, prescription medication, and other drugs can impair reaction times and decision making. So there's also another cause, which is risk taking behavior, and some individuals will underestimate dangers of impaired driving or overestimate their ability to drive safely. So the third cause is social pressure, peer influence, and societal norms around drinking or drug use also can contribute. And we also have mental health, which is associated with anxiety, stress, or depression, can lead individuals to use substances and make poor decisions, including driving impaired. And last but not least is a lack of awareness. So there's a huge misunderstanding that affects that effect of substances on driving ability, or believing they feel fine to drive even though they are under the influence. So, this is very, very crucial. If you have alcohol in your system, it is simple. Please do not drive, because you cannot predict how you're going to feel when you are behind the wheels. Because, like it states that you can misjudge and think that you are fine when you're not. So, the best decision to make is not to drink and drive, or be under the influence of other substances and go behind the wheel to drive, because you can injure yourself and innocent citizens on the road. So let's look at the effects. Effect of driving under the influence. There's accidents and injuries, like I was just saying. There's impaired drivers who are more likely to cause collisions due to reduced reaction times and impaired judgment. These accidents often result in several injuries or fatalities. There's also the legal consequences. You could get arrested, fined, and your license can be suspended, and there could be criminal charges against you, and repeated offenders will face imprisonment, and there is also financial cost associated with um, some of the effects or impact of you driving under the influence, and there's cost related to legal fees, vehicle repairs, medical expenses, and higher insurance premium. Because if you're at fault, obviously your insurance premium is going to go up. And there's also emotional impact, guilt and trauma for the impaired driver. Once you injured somebody or killed somebody, there's always that guilt and trauma that stays with you. There's also devastating effects on victims and their families, including grief and long life injuries, the loss of loved ones. So when you think about these things, please do not go behind the wheels if you know you are impaired by whatever it is, alcohol or drugs. So, how does DUI, driving under the influence, impact the individuals? There's physical injuries or fatalities, like I mentioned. There's criminal records that affect employment and social reputation. There's mental health issues such as guilt or post-trauma stress for the individual. And now, what are some of the impact on families? There's emotional and financial burdens due to injuries, legal costs, or loss of a loved loved one rather, and there is strained relationships and trust issues. And there's also definitely impact on society. So it increased healthcare costs for treating accident victims. There is strain on law enforcement and legal systems. And most definitely, there's loss of productivity and contributions from those affected by DUI related accidents. And ways that we can prevent or intervene in this situation is through education. One of them is through education and awareness, through, for example, public campaigns highlighting the dangers and consequences of impaired driving. Another one is school-based programs where we will teach young drivers about the risk of driving impaired. And we also have another form of intervention, which is strict laws and enforcement, whereby there is zero tolerance policies for drugs and alcohol, especially for young and novice drivers. There's also sobriety checkpoints for random breathalyzer tests, where you get pulled over and you have to blow and to make sure that you are not under the influence. And there's also technology solutions like the ignition interlock device that prevents a vehicle from starting if the driver is impaired. This is in the case of people who are chronic alcoholics. And there's also ride sharing apps which is available, and there's it's a ride sharing app and designated driver programs to provide alternatives. So if you know you're under the influence, you can go on the app and you can ask for a ride. There's also a designated sober driver when you go out, somebody who will drive if you are under the influence. It could be a friend or or just a support program where you can reach out to. If you know that you're going to be drinking, then you need to find a ride home or take a cab. Just take a cab home. There's also community and support programs. And in those programs, there's rehabilitation programs for individuals with substance use and disorders. And then we also have support groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It's called MAD, MADD, to advocate for change. These are mothers who unfortunately have lost their children to drivers who drove under the influence. And there's also another intervention is policy and advocacy. Um, they look at stricter penalties for repeat offenders and investment in public transit and affordable ride options to reduce reliance on personal vehicles. And then we have also the cultural shift, which is promoting responsibilities, social drinking habits, and encouraging accountability among peers to prevent friends from driving impaired. So, with all of this, there is enough prevention and intervention going on. And what I will suggest is for you not to drink and drive, because there's a lot of consequences when it happens and you get into trouble and you're caught. It can ruin your life. So I'll close by saying that driving under the influence is preventable, and yet some people choose to drink and drive, which leads to fatality and injuries. So through education, my hope is that through education, enforcement, and community support, we can reduce the prevalence of impaired driving and its devastating impact on individuals, families, and society. So it's not just a one-man show. It takes the effort of everybody. So ending DUI requires collective responsibility and a commitment to safer roads for everyone. So I hope that this has been helpful, and that for young drivers who are just having their learners and having their first car, I will encourage you to always remember that you have to be safe, to be sober behind the wheels, so that the roads can be safe for everybody. Until I meet you again, I want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope this information has been helpful. Thank you once again, and I wish you a good day. Bye for now.